Millions of people across the globe are dealing with some sort of mental illness. 6 million people in the U.S. alone deal with bipolar disorder on any given day. I myself have been dealing with bipolar disorder since I was about 14, along with depression, anxiety disorder, and all the other things that go along with it. That may be a disorder or a mood disorder, mental illness that you may have heard of, may not. The worst part about having the disorder is that there is a stigma attached to it socially, that people who have the disorder are either crazy or they are pretending to have something so that they can get away with things that other people wouldn't get away with. The main thing that I'm trying to get everyone to understand today is that the best way to help people with bipolar disorder is to help erase the stigma, to become educated and to understand what it is to have the disorder and how you can help people with the disorder. There are several websites that you can go to get information about this. The National Institute of Mental Health, NIMH.gov, and the MayoClinic.com. They have a lot of information that can help you understand the disorder and symptoms and signs, so that if you think you may be dealing with someone with a disorder, then you will probably know just by that. The disorder can be debilitating. It's a long-term thing. It's not where you just wake up one day and you don't have it anymore. Most people suffer with the disorder for years, and a lot of times most people have less of a quality of life than they would have if they didn't have a disorder. It's a very controversial topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's the reason why I don't talk about it a whole lot. Because of the stigma, because the way people look at you, because the way people feel after they know that you have the disorder, they look at you in a different way. They treat you differently. They don't trust you as much. Being understanding about the disorder, being willing to talk to somebody about it, opening up a dialogue and becoming educated about it is one of the biggest steps in helping people with the disorder. There used to be only 2 types of the disorder, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Now there's 4 types, at least 4. It used to be called manic depressive, which is still called that now, but they call it bipolar disorder for the most part. Bipolar 1 is the most severe case, where you have mixed episodes, which means that you have extreme highs and extreme lows, and not a lot of in between. It's either one or the other, or sometimes both at the same time, which can be really hard to deal with. Bipolar 2 is where you have some ups and some downs, but mostly depressed episodes. That's where you can't function, you can't concentrate, you're tired all the time, you're just not motivated. Sometimes people have suicidal thoughts, and 1 out of 5 people with the disorder commit suicide. Most of that problem is because they don't feel like they're getting the understanding and the acceptance that is needed to get through it. There's also bipolar disorder not officially specified, which means it doesn't meet any of the criteria. So the scientists don't know which group to put you in, because you have some symptoms but not others. And then there's also cyclothymic disorder, which is a more mild form. You have both ups and downs, but you have hypomania, which is a more mild form of mania, or an up, and then you have mild depressive episodes. There are ways that you can treat it. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the best things that you can do, which is learning how to control your thought processes and your spontaneity issues, your actions, by being more conscious of what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're feeling, thinking it through before you act on it, before you say what you want to say. That's one of the best helps. And medication, obviously. But medication only helps 30 to 50 people. 30 to 50% of people who are suffering with the disorder. Most of the time people are on different medications. They have to deal with it for 8 weeks, see how it works out, then try something new if that doesn't work. And a lot of times they're stacking more than one medication on top of the other in order to try to gain some sort of balance, when that may just make it worse. The disorder is often accompanied by other disorders. Like I said, I have bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, So, I mean, you can have, post-traumatic stress disorder, you can have anxiety disorder, just simple depression, which isn't so simple, but usually the disorder is accompanied by something else. So my main point is that the most important thing you can do for someone who has bipolar disorder, or any mental illness for that matter, is to be supportive, talk to them about it. If they're scared to try to get help, take them to try to get help, or even just, like I said, talk to them about it and try to open up a dialogue so that way they feel more comfortable talking about their symptoms and the issues that they're having. 2/3 of people who have bipolar disorder have a relative who has bipolar disorder. If families are more willing to open up about disorders, mental illnesses, you're able to connect to one another better, you're able to talk it through, and you're able to work through it. And I think that's the most important thing, is educating the people, educating the public, opening up that dialogue, and making people feel more comfortable and less stigmatized for having a mental illness that they didn't choose to have that mental illness, they were born with it.